All right, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to explore using ChatGPT's O1 model to write some Python code for us. Now, this video is going to be a slightly different format where it's going to be a bit more of a live stream type format where I don't have a big script. I just have a general idea of what we're going to do. So the editing will be minimal. So let me know if you like that. But the genesis for this was over the holidays, I was kind of looking at a large collection of photos and videos that have accumulated over the years. I'm sure many of you have that. And mine have basically no organizational structure at all. Way back, 20 years when I started to collect them off of the original digital cameras, I was very diligent about creating well-structured folders with dates and places and everything else. But then as you moved into cell phones and you start to download your photos from something like iCloud or OneDrive or any of their services, you basically get a dump of files without much structure, not much name, etc. And I basically have this unorganized mess of files, which makes it very hard to find anything. Now, I always assumed that a good photo service would solve that for me. And in a sense they do, but I don't really want my photos up in the cloud anymore. And I'm using Plex within my home lab to host photos and share them throughout the house. And Plex is a pretty simple interface and library mechanism without like advanced techniques. So it kind of relies on the folder structure that you provide. And it got me thinking like, hey, I really need to write a program to better organize these files. And I actually did that in Java. And I did a whole separate series of videos on that. But then I was like, hey, you know what? It might be fun to see how far we can get writing some code using ChatGPT for some home scripting. So that's what we're going to do today. And this will probably be a series of videos as we kind of take a script from the beginning and make it more and more advanced. So today we're going to start with a simple problem and work through it with ChatGPT and see what happens. And so the first problem we're going to work through is we're going to write a script to find duplicates in the files. Now in my collection of folders of photos and videos, I have endless duplicates because what I do is I just download everything from a cloud service once in a while, like every few months. I put a date on it and I save it. Like I don't have so much data that storage is a problem, and storage is effectively free. So I bias on having more copies of data rather than being perfect about it and risk losing it. But as a result, I have a whole bunch of duplicates. And when you serve that up through Plex, it actually turns into a mess of an experience. So what we're going to do today is write a script to go find duplicate files. Now, yes, there are tools you can use like RD Finder, etc., and those actually work really well. But we're just going to have some fun and create our own solution to this problem. So we are using ChatGPT's O1 model, which you can see right here. Now, as of the recording of this video, O1 is the current model and O3 is in testing. And so they skipped O2 just for naming reasons, and O3 appears to be much more advanced. But the O1 model is their current advanced reasoning model. And so we'll be using that to see how good it is at writing some code for us. And so what we're going to start off with is, I think it'd be very simple to say, let's write a script to find duplicates. But I want to ask it to do something a little more complicated first. What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to ask it to first design the algorithm to find the duplicates, and then I'll ask it to write. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, I want to write a Python script to find and remove duplicate files within a directory tree. Please design an efficient algorithm for finding duplicates. You don't need to write any code yet. So I'm interested to see what it comes up with. Like, you imagine, how would you think about this problem? You may think like, hey, I'm going to look at file sizes. I'm going to look at modification dates, names. You could do file checksums with a hashing algorithm. You might want to do like partial checksums to save kind of looking over the entire file contents. There's a bunch of kind of normal approaches to this. So let's see how it thinks about the problem. All right, so it thought for a couple seconds, and here's the algorithm it came up with. So first, group by file size. Files with different sizes cannot be duplicates. This reduces the number of comparisons, sure. Hashing, use a cryptographic hash function to verify the contents. Potentially a two-stage hashing approach. First a quick partial hash, then a full. Interesting. And then confirm duplicates when the size and the hash match. Perform a final byte by byte comparison if needed to eliminate false positives from hashing collisions, especially if using non-cryptographic hashes or partial hashes. This is interesting. Actually, I think it's pretty cool the approach it came up with here, especially using two-stage hashing. I would not have gone as far to do a byte by byte comparison, to be honest, because again, and it says this, depending on the hashing algorithm you use, your probability of a collision is so small, I would probably skip that. Consolidate and remove. Once you identify the groups, remove or quarantine. Sure. Here are the, oh, nice, detailed steps. Okay. Traverse the directory tree or recursive traversal, where the file paths in a directory keyed by file size. This is very, very thorough. Performance and memory considerations. Again, I didn't ask it to do this. I just asked it to be efficient. Storing paths in dictionary can be, yep. Consider streaming approaches. Okay. Hashing algorithm choice, IO, and wow. Okay. That is pretty good. So why don't we say like, okay, sounds great. Go ahead and write the code for this. So it took 5 seconds to do that. And here is a Python script that implements, it first looks at size, partial hash, full hash, and optional byte compare. It provides a modular, great. So let's just, I'm not going to go line by line at the implementation, but see if it makes sense. So here is the partial hashing solution. Returns a hash MD5 by default of the first chunk size bytes, where chunk size is 4K. Seems reasonable. Now here is the full size. Here it compares files byte by byte, and then here is the duplicate finder. So it walks through the files in the directory. Wow, it outlined the steps and it commented what it was doing. So I think this is pretty cool. And it's interesting that it created command line parameters for what it thought would be optional. Okay, this is pretty cool. And wow. And then it goes and says how to use it. Pretty neat. Okay, so I think this is great. I would be tempted to just drop this in and run it and see what happens. But I actually want to make a modification to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to do two things. And let's see how it responds to this. I'm going to ask it to do two different things. First, I'm going to ask it to change the default full hashing algorithm to SHA-256, just for fun. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to add a dry run feature that just goes through and describes what it would do and what files it would remove, but doesn't actually take action. Okay, here is the updated script. Okay, so here is the dry run feature, but let's just scan through to see where it did that. Okay, so if remove duplicates, if it's a dry run, they would remove. Okay, that makes sense. So here is the removal. So it really just added it in one place. But you know, when you think about if you're using this for development, where this gets a little tricky is I mean, first, this script is really big and I haven't had a chance to fully read it and understand it. So I'm kind of taking this on faith. The other thing is I just asked for an update to the script and I got a whole new script back, which is great if it works. But I'd really like to see a diff of the script to understand what it did. So let's see if it can produce a diff. So here's what I said. I said, this looks okay, but can you show me a diff of the two scripts so I understand what changed? Here's what's interesting. I didn't specify like the standard diff format. I just kind of said a diff and it kind of understood the context of what I meant by that. And what's interesting is it was able to generate that. So let's look. Here's a unified diff showing the changes between the original script. I love the level of detail it gives me here, where it is clear that the original script uses the default MD5 and no dry run with the modified script with what I said. Only the lines that differ, plus a few surrounding lines are shown. Okay, so let's see if this makes sense. So yep, there was a comment change, right? And then here are the changes to the command line parameters to change the hash algorithm, and then the dry run feature. That looks pretty cool. Highlights of the change and the dry run parameter and the text. Pretty amazing so far. So why don't we give it a try? Actually, before we give it a try, I want to ask it to add one more feature. I'm going to ask it to print a little summary of what was removed. So let's see if we can combine a couple concepts into one additional ask on the script. So here's what I'm going to say. Let's make another change. Have the script print out a summary of the number of files that were removed and the total number of files before and after the duplicate removal. Please show me the complete updated script as well as a diff. So this kind of brings a whole bunch of concepts together of I want you to add a feature, and then I want you to rewrite the script as well as show me a diff of the changes. This is definitely 7 seconds to do that. So there is the full updated script while it prints out the diff. So I'll tell you just as an aside, looking at this, and obviously I'm doing this somewhat quickly because we're making a video about it. it's tough to digest all of this and know if it's doing the right thing. So you think about this from an engineering perspective. I think looking at diffs would be super important. Code reviews would be super important. And also, like, I think having robust test coverage would be super important in these cases because you can just generate so much code so quickly and you can easily introduce a bug in this that was missed. So I could go down a whole other path of asking this to generate tests, and maybe I'll do that in a little bit. But I think at this point we have a pretty robust script. So actually now I will, why don't we give it a try? So here's what I have. Actually, I did do a little bit of prep for this. I do have my huge folders full of media, but actually we're going to start this on an example directory. So I have an example tree of files, and of course, I didn't generate this. As a bit of prep, I did ask ChatGPT, a different model, to generate this for me. So as you can see in here, it's a whole bunch of, it's about 10,000 files in a directory structure. I asked it to create files of a few K up to a few megabytes and ensure there are duplicates. So this will be like our test data set. All right, so I have VS Code open, and what we're going to do is we will just create a new file and we'll just paste in the contents from ChatGPT. Now, this is interesting, like kind of going back and forth between ChatGPT as code generation and diff generation, and the place where we actually do the editing is not easy. It's not fluid in my opinion, and there's probably a better way to do the tool integration here. And I'm sure maybe things like GitHub Copilot and others do a better job, but I'd like to explore that. But for now, we'll keep it simple. And so there we pasted in our script. All right, so let's just open a terminal and see what we got. So there's our deduplication script. Let's just run it. And of course, command line arguments. So here's what we'll do. We'll run it, and let's first run it with -h, and let's do a dry run. Let's see what it does. So that's interesting. Like, that wasn't particularly helpful, I will say. Like, yeah, it ran a dry run, but it actually didn't print what I was expecting it to print. So that's problem number one. I feel like I was expecting more of a summary of what it would do. Oh, it's interesting. So here, like, and so here's the first problem, right? It has this parameter remove duplicates, which I didn't specify. So I guess it's saying it would do nothing. So that's an odd command line parameter. So let's see what happens when we put these together. Okay, interesting. So we keep all these files. It says 0 files would have been removed, which is interesting because that implies my previous script, which generated these duplicate files, was not correct. Oh, but it's interesting because here it says would remove duplicate, but here it says 0 files would have been removed. So maybe that's just a bug in how it's reporting things. So here, I'm just looking at this quickly. Here's the num removed variable, count how many files got removed, and it increments num removed when it actually does the removal, right? So this is not right. So you can tell right off, like, so there is a bug in this dry run reporting capability. And that's fine. Like, so maybe we could ask it to fix that, or we could go fix it ourselves. And so that kind of brings in the interesting, like, what is the loop here where you work with this tool? Do I ask the tool to go fix the problem? I'm sure most developers could probably go fix this really quickly themselves. Now I need to feed this back to the tool to continue to make enhancements on it. But what we'll do here is, let's just kind of plow ahead and let's remove the dry run feature and just see what it does. So it removed 5,000 files. So let's do a quick just sanity check. And let's count how many files are in test files. 5,000. Okay, and actually let's go to another directory because I have the original. Directories copied. 10,000. Okay, so that's interesting. So let's assume for a second that worked. I think that's pretty cool. Now, is it perfect? No. But if you think about, like, in a few minutes, I don't even know how long this video is at this point, but this is certainly longer than you would take if you were doing this alone. In a few minutes, we were able to use this tool to generate a pretty substantial script to find or remove duplicates from a directory. In my opinion, that is pretty amazing. And obviously, we're only at the beginning. Certainly, there's going to be a lot of change in this area. But why don't we keep going? Let's see if we can get it to do a little more. So let's go back here. And we got it to explain what it was doing, do diffs, everything else. So what else can we do? I think what I'd like to have it do is, instead of removing the duplicates, I'd like to have an option to actually move the duplicates somewhere else. So I'm going to have it add that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have it actually remove the capability to delete them and just add the capability to move it somewhere else. So I'm going to say this. Let's modify the script. Instead of removing duplicates, move the duplicates to another directory instead. So I'm curious to see what it does. I'm curious to see how it handles the command line parameters. I'm actually curious to see if it shows me the full script in a diff like I asked for before. So it says instead of keeping the duplicates, we'll move them to another directory. We'll keep the partial hashing, dry run mode, and a summary. Okay. A new command line argument where the duplicates should be moved to. Dry, sure. Now, did it generate a diff? It did not. Okay, that's interesting. And do you notice it removed the command line parameter, the dash dash remove, which was confusing anyway? I'm going to say, can you show me? Okay, so here's the diff where it's on the last step, removal or other handling of duplicates with dry run support. If remove, keep the first file, remove the rest. So notice it still uses the language around removing duplicates, which is fine. All right, so let's copy the code and try this out. All right, we have the new script saved. We repopulated the test files directory. So we'll try dry run again, even though that feature was like so-so. And we'll do move to. There we go. We'll make a directory to put those in. Okay, let's see if that works. Nice that it updated the comments. So it said it would move the duplicate from there to the discarded directory. Now, so it looks like it'll probably move them into a flat format, which if you have any name collisions would not be great. And so here, this is still not right. Okay, that's fine. So let's try this. All right, so here's the good news. It moved 5,000 again. That's good. There you go, 5,000. Let's see what the discarded directory looks like. Yep, there you go. So again, it solved the problem, but it wasn't perfect because I think it would have gladly written over the files that you put into the discarded directory. So you'd probably want it to retain the structure of the folder. So let's see if it can do that. I think this is not the easiest idea to express. So when you move a file to the discarded directory, retain the relative path structure. Let's see how it handles that. I think it'll show me a diff. Oh, wow. Okay, it explained how it should work. I think that's pretty cool. Explanation of key changes to retain relative path structure. This tells it, wow, explains the code and gives an example. So it finds the base directory, home user, my project. The relative path becomes that, right? Okay. So if move to is to move into the duplicates directory, isn't it? It's neat how it actually chose a reasonable name for that, not just some, random character. So it would move it into home user. Okay, this looks right. And that's right. It has to create the necessary directories. Very good. All right, let's go with it. All right, we have our directory structure recreated. So let's try this again. And let's look at the discarded directory. And there you go. It should have some type of structure, which it does. Cool, 5,000. All right, so we're gonna leave it here for now. If you found it interesting, I think what I wanted to kind of get across in this is just to look at, hey, what is it like to use these LLMs and particularly some of these more advanced models to create code? How good is it? What is the workflow like, etc.? And obviously, if you're an engineer and you're writing code all day, this is probably like something you're trying or using a different tool set. What I think is really cool about this is suddenly this becomes very accessible to people who maybe only dabble in writing code. Someone like me, I used to write code all day, but I'm not as up to speed as I used to be. And this script in front of us, this kind of back and forth we just went through, this probably would have taken me several hours to write this and I'm not fluent in Python. So I'd be checking syntax, learning the right way to do things, writing tests. Of course, we didn't write any tests. What we saw here in a relatively short amount of time for me was hours of work. And that to me is amazing. And was it perfect? No, not at all. But I think it has a lot of potential. And so I just kind of wanted to show you a real-time example of what you can generate with today's technology with relatively little effort. I'll make some other videos where we continue to develop this idea of organizing our files. Well, what I mean is organizing media files. In particular, since this is solving a problem I have, we'll get into how do you categorize the files, right? Along different directory structures, attributes, etc. And we'll continue to use this tool to develop the script. And we'll leave it there and we'll see you next time.